26.
26?
Yeah, halfway to a year. So we have a topic today. The topic is purpose. I suppose like one's purpose in life, one's purpose on earth. Is there such a thing as a purpose? Is it okay if you don't have a purpose? Should you be out trying to find your purpose, your calling, your mission? Is all that the same thing? I don't know. I'm the designated expert on this topic, despite not really knowing exactly what my purpose is per se.
Maybe
But
maybe this is the right time to record this.
right,
Because I am kind of in a funk over my purpose right now.
you seem like you're in a funk.
Yeah, I'm kind of like evaluating my purpose.
Yeah,
And but in the reality is the life is questioning, like knowing, not knowing, knowing what you're doing with your life, not knowing what you're doing with your life, questioning what you're doing with your life, right?
yeah. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of life, as it were, is to grow and explore and question. If there was no questioning, it would be very boring. If there was no growth and exploring, what is the point?
I mean, what's exploring? I mean, what are you talking about exploring?
I mean, exploring life. It doesn't mean going out on some safari necessarily. Um,
So
but
we're not pro shooting animals on safaris.
I am personally not pro shooting animals on safari. I think the animals have been there longer than us, and they should stay there. That's beside the point. The uh, like um, exploring isn't necessary. Doesn't You don't have to leave your house to explore. You can, and that's a modality of exploring to me. But you can explore by you know basically anything can be turned into exploration if you have the right mindset about it. You know, and there are obvious examples. Reading a book could be exploring. Watching a movie or show could be exploring. Playing with your kids could be exploring. Sitting and meditating could be exploring. Doing the dishes, it could be exploring if you have the right mindset and attitude about it.
So, is your idea about the purpose is basically just exploring?
That is a purpose, but like that doesn't seem complete. If I were to say that that is my purpose, that feels incomplete to me. So I think there's something else for me personally. What it is really, really hard to articulate right now. I've had times when I've been more or less sure about it, but right now, I and it's when people want to tie purpose to like a job or a career. I have to make this or I have to do that, and it isn't necessarily that, and it isn't necessarily to have anything lasting like a legacy or anything like that. For me, some people maybe it is, and that's hard to say if that's right, wrong, good or bad to have a purpose like that. Um, to me, it feels like it is to make something, somethings, I guess, plural. Um, I don't know what they are.
You feel like you're already doing it or not?
I feel like I'm close to it. I feel like I'm on the path to it. I mean, what is it exactly? I don't know. Right now my interests are in like making videos and making music, right? And it's like I guess in a sense I'm making a video literally at this moment. So it's like it's very adjacent to purpose adjacent. But it's something. I think your purpose is probably something aligned with your passions for most people. Um so that's what it's somewhere in that neighborhood for me. but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't. I can't say it's this project or that. I don't know. It's just s- right now. I'm at the point where I'm like, if I can do more music and more video, then that feels like it's in the right direction.
But that feels like you can't really articulate what your purpose is, but you're like, "Oh, but this feels right, so I'm just gonna do it."
I know. I know. I'm being incredibly wishy washy about it.
No, but is that it? Is that your definition of a purpose? Is it you don't know, but you just being pulled that direction and you just do that?
Um.
Is that as
Hmm.
simple as that?
No. This is different from like a pull.
Oh, yeah? It's different?
It is different from a pull. Like back, 10, 20 years ago, you know, what I wanted to do was, uh,
I mean, when I say pull, I meant like a heartfelt pull. What do you mean by how are you defining a pull?
well, let me say this, like 10 or 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even, my passion was coding, programming, right? But that never felt like a purpose to me. And I still like it. That is a very, very enjoyable thing to do. But it isn't like fulfilling in the same way.
Was it fulfilling back then?
It was, but I would have never said that that's my purpose. So even though at times it was probably just as fulfilling as making, creative stuff is now, I never really felt like it was my purpose. And maybe there's something related to how it gets used, making software for insurance companies. Yeah, you know, that's not that's hard to call that a purpose.
Mhm.
uh Making software for myself, is more aligned, but it's still not my purpose. At the same time, making this podcast feels, you know, much less profitable, but much more. I mean, it is fulfilling, and it's more fulfilling, but yet fulfilling and aligned with purpose don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They can, but I don't think they have to.
Maybe this is unrelated, but maybe it's related. But, we always try to do the whole sit down, drink cacao, and try to talk about what we actually feel. And so it
Yeah,
started as that. And then I
the
thought,
podcast
yeah,
or
no, yeah, the
us.
podcast started as that, right?
Mhm.
Like, and it's not necessarily us identifying our purpose. It's just more of like, just like I am right now, like, oh, I'm in the funk of not really knowing what my purpose is. And we just have cacao and we sit down and we try to hash shit out.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And so the podcast comes out of the passion for,
exploration.
well, I think what it is like the personal journey of self is a difficult journey to have, right? That you have times where you identify things about yourself that you don't necessarily want to identify, and then after that you're basically like, oh, that's shit. And then there's like depression. Like I said, I thought I was depressed a couple days ago. I woke up with a feeling that I was depressed. And then before, you wake up in that nebulous state of being and you're not really you and you're not, you haven't snapped into your body all the way. And I wasn't snapped into my body. But the first thought I had was, what the heck is my purpose here? Or like, why in the fuck am I even here? Like, what's the point? Right? Like, what's the point? Uh, and then as I had that thought, before I was snapped into my body, I started weasel my way out of, like, I started to logic my way going, "Oh, no, the life is beautiful." And I almost started to, like, do a little sales pitch on myself about why I don't feel the way that that thought was. Now, I still don't know if that's the thought that I feel.
Was it your feeling, or was that from a dream or someone else or past life or something?
I don't know, right? But there was a there was a I'm a huge optimist, I think, like, huge, huge optimist probably. One of the biggest optimists I know. Not like a fake optimist, an actual optimist, I think. So a lot of people pretend to be optimistic. and like you do the whole like, yay, like, great. But inside they're just hiding, sea of sorrow.
Yeah, we know a lot of people like that.
Yeah. But with me, I'm actually like in the long run, if I have a sea of sorrow, I will very quickly try to turn my own self around and become an optimist about anyone's situation. I tend to do that a lot. Maybe just because through so much struggle growing up, that kind of like a coping mechanism, it became of like, oh, I feel this, and guess who's going to be my own, or who's going to be a cheerleader? It's going to be me, right? And I'm going to cheer myself back up, and I'm going to see the best in this situation. I'm going to see the bright side of the moon or whatever. I don't know if that's an expression, but it seems
Right
to work.
side of the moon.
It kind of works. What's the actual expression? See, mine's so much better. We don't even know what the other one is.
Just see the right side.
Well, no, bright side of the moon, right? Is the right side, right?
The bright side is the right side.
No, but and so then there's this big part of me, and I think this was kind of like the shocker. Maybe this is why I'm in a funk more so about my purpose. Is like I went, wait, do I just cheer myself out of my subconscious?
You just what?
Cheer myself out of my subconscious, right? Is when I wake up and I have that thought, is it actually me? I still don't know. Right? Is that thought actually me?
With me, if I wake up, because I wake up every now and then feeling down, depressed, and sometimes it is me, but sometimes it's not me, and it's like, and as soon as I recognize that it's not me, it's gone.
Yeah, no, but
So
I think
if it's not,
on the last podcast we talked about that.
yeah. So
and then you said like your day could go on.
yeah. So if I don't know if that's how it works with everybody, but if you figure out that it's not you, which I guess you didn't do. You didn't figure out that it's not you. If you do figure out it's not you, I would think it would just disappear immediately.
Well, no,
Because it's like it's like I'm lugging this thing on my shoulders, and then all of a sudden I'm like, this isn't mine. What am I doing with this? Plop, and it's just gone.
yeah, no, in this case, I can, I could say, okay, it's not me, right? And
It's not
yeah,
yours.
yeah, I spend a lot of time, doing the declaration of sovereignty to make sure I'm not connected to any energies that are not mine. So I do that a lot, right? And I feel like what's walking and representing in my body is the reflection of me at all times, right? And so when I woke up, I thought, okay, I can say there's two things. I can say it's me, and then I go, okay, well, that's my subconscious, and that needs something that needs to be addressed, right? And maybe we're addressing it right now. Or I can say it's not me, but then technically it is still the truth of someone else. And if it is on me and here on me, I don't have to
Engage.
Or like be killed by it, but I can still engage in the sense that that could still be a conversation that is possibly, if I'm not feeling it right now, at some point I felt it. And like my dad always tells me that, like, oh, if you get a message, if you get a download, it's not for you. Like, you just happen to be a radio receiver, right? Like, because what we are is we are radio receivers, and we're basically at any one point just tune into a specific channel and things come.
But it's a broadcast out to the universe.
It's just a broadcast. Yeah. It's an informational field that you just tuned into. And so his point to me always was like, oh, just because you receive it doesn't mean it's meant for you, right? And I've said this before in podcasts.
Yeah.
And this is the same way. I'm like, well, is there responsibility that I receive it, right? Like the reason why we had that whole episode when we did a Mount Shasta recording and the whole stuff about general dynamics, is that what it is?
What is it?
Like,
what's the real one? General atomics.
Yeah, whatever. Right? All that stuff came up that is like scientific, and scientific is also a word apparently that awesome people use. I came up with a different word today. Wormsy, I think.
Wormsy?
Wormsy. I said it was going to be wormsy today.
Wormsy.
Yeah.
I hope it's wormsy today.
Were you wormsy today?
I hope it is.
Oh, I don't know.
You talking about the weather?
Yeah. Annabelle and I
is.
were talking about it, and she was asking what the weather was. I'm like, I think it's going to get wormsy today. So
That's something that awesome people do.
I'm on the roll, right? And so I thought, okay, let's say it is not mine, but the fact that it came to me, and then automatically I went into some sort of mode of defunking myself. Like, oh no, I'm like, but wait, what if I dive into it? What if there is a piece of truth that is mine in there? And it doesn't actually matter if it's mine or if it's not mine. The fact that it made its way into my system maybe holds something in there.
Yeah.
And then my optimism, my eternal optimism in life and cheerleading tends to, like dismiss a lot of things. And I'm very easily motivated, and I can very easily leave any mode of my being and then connect to the higher source and then basically go, oh no, this is a reflection of the overall, and then be completely separate from the concept of it, right? But still see it as something that needs to be explored. You know what I mean? Like I could
Mhm.
do that right now. And so it will automatically take me out of the funk to where I'm like, oh no, and now I'm enthused about the idea that I am in the funk. And then let's explore it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, but is that a
I think it's a
coping mechanism?
coping
Yeah.
mechanism that like I think it's very easy for me because I spent so much time in my childhood not wanting to feel the despair that was growing up in Soviet Ukraine. So through just, and I say Soviet Ukraine, but everything that came along with my childhood, Soviet Ukraine is just one of the aspects of it, right? And like, and in the book, the beginning of the book that I wrote uh, talks about just my story of what caused me to leave the space of oneness and then enter into the funk. And I address Ukraine as just being one of those things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know I can see lodging myself out of funk also. But at the same time, I try not to. I try to go, well, if I'm here, there's something to feel,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. No, with me, it's purpose. Like, I think purpose is, when you said purpose, that's probably what it is, right? Is like, I question my purpose.
I guess, do you feel that everybody needs to have a very defined purpose at all points in their life?
No. Do you?
No.
No. Yeah.
And,
No,
and go ahead.
no, w- when like I hear word purpose, the only thing that actually does come to mind now is that pull. That heartfelt pull, like the
Yeah.
episode that we recorded a couple of weeks ago, where we had the quote that flashed in front of me.
Yeah.
Is that like I can't even say that anyone knows the true purpose is really the entire journey.
Right. I mean, if it boils down to anything, it boils down to that. The journey is the purpose.
Yeah. So every nuance within that journey technically is a purpose. Like it's quite literally part of the purpose. And do you remember when I said that they showed me the scale of connectivity between everything? I don't know if you ever felt that on your end?
Yeah.
Like the nuance, like even the most minute nuance being absolutely perfect for the purpose, if we use the word purpose
Yeah.
here. Like it's that, right? Like it's so vast and it's so perfect and it's so orchestrated on so many levels and dimensions that you would go, as a human being, I cannot comprehend that nuance, that vastness, that detail of perfection. And so therefore to say that I know what my purpose is outside of any one event is probably part of it.
Yeah.
Then like it's almost like injustice to put an idea on description.
Right. We almost need like two different words for it. Like what you just described is almost like a higher purpose.
Oh, what
But at the same
what
time,
what did you talk about? That's the
no,
only thing I've been thinking the entire time.
no, it is. But like, it's easy to interpret purpose as like, something to achieve or some sort of like, I think I started saying that, but that's not
Is that
it.
how you interpret purpose?
That's how I used to interpret purpose. But like,
To achieve in what?
yeah, but I don't know. Like
Well,
to
if you
leave a, it's all the things that to me it is not now to leave a legacy or to build something or to have, make a company or make a movie or make a this or make it, it's easy to, that's what I used to think purpose was.
and then Purpose.
But now it's more like
purpose.
it's more like why. It's less what can I do or achieve or make or build or leave, and now it's more like why am I here? I think I'm just repeating what I said to begin with. I just wanted to differentiate between like
but in
a
the
3D
past,
purpose and then a higher purpose.
Yeah, but in the past, let's say we call it a 3D purpose. If the goal was to like build something and then leave it behind as a legacy, let's say if that was the purpose in the back of the days, what does that mean? Like explore that
Right? I
portion
mean,
of self.
that was never me. I never cared about legacy per se, but
What is legacy?
is it just being remembered? Is it like it was Carnegie? He's remembered. He's got a school named after him, right? Is it big any of the business tycoons of the olden days? Edison has a legacy. The light bulb legacy. Is it that? I mean, maybe for some people, obviously it is. It is important to be remembered in a certain way.
As a sales pitch of what you are?
I guess. I mean, I think that's probably ends up defining them to some degree. If that matters, if it matters in 100 years, are people still going to remember my name and remember what I did for the world? And there are plenty of people that we remember who did not set out with that goal. I don't get the impression that Mother Teresa really cared too much if we remember her in particular or not. She was doing what she was doing because she felt that was the right thing to do, not because she got famous doing it. I get the impression that Tesla as well did what he did because he was just passionate about it. And, not that fortune or fame ever really found him in his day, but, these days is the household name. Any of the business tycoons, I don't know. Is it for the money? Is it for the power? Is it for the prestige? Is it for the infamy? I don't know. George Washington was reluctant to accept his position as president. He did not want to do that, but he did it. So it's not. I don't get the impression that he set out, I'm going to be president, and I'm going to run the country, and everyone's going to remember me. And no, not at all.
Which is what most of the people do right now.
I think that's what people do right now. A lot of people. A lot of famous people are famous because they try to be famous. Fame is the goal in and of itself. Fame has never been my thing. I would rather be rich than be famous. Rich and anonymous. But it's like if your purpose is to become famous, that's a weird purpose to me.
But fame is just the same thing as legacy.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's not any different. Fame is just like guess what? If I become famous, then at the end there's a legacy.
Right? People will remember me.
Yeah, is the goal to be remembered?
I don't know that it is. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's 8. We're not going to remember 8 billion people. I don't know. I mean, it's not. If I can't tell you anything about. All right, so with my parents, their parents, and then that third generation back, I met at least one of them. I think it's my mother's mother's mother, but she died when I was young, and that's it. 4 generations ago, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you a single person's name.
Well,
all the way back,
They were-
except a handful of semi-famous people that I'm allegedly related to.
Just like you are a Native American and claim the rights to this country.
So I don't know. It's like, does that bother me? Not really.
Do you think,
Would that bother them?
yeah, does it bother them? Do you think they are like rolling in their grave in the afterlife going, oh, no one remembers me
Right?
now?
It's like, obviously my children will remember me, and hopefully I'll get to meet their children, and they'll, I guess, know me. And best case, one more generation, but I don't know. Four, 1, 2, 3, 4 generations down? No, that's not gonna happen.
Um,
But it is I don't care. It doesn't, why would it matter?
it with me, and so maybe there's some humanoid aspect of being that it comes in that I'm still trying to process. And maybe this is what like the overall depression and funk on that subject is like I will word it as a scramble of puke, and then we can maybe digest it because I don't have it.
Digest the puke.
Yeah, I'm
You're
I'm running
a wordsmith today.
today. I'm running
Was it
with all kinds of metaphors.
wormy?
Wormsy.
Wormsy.
Animal liked it. She's like, "Oh, we should just make that a word." I'm like, "I think we should just make that a word."
Is coolsy the
I
opposite?
don't know. No wormsy's that.
What's the opposite of wormsy?
There's not an opposite. There's just no
It's
stands on
just
its own.
unwormsy.
Wormsy. No, it right. Remember, a couple of days ago, I said like, "Oh, maybe I'm depressed about it. Maybe I'm depressed about my purpose. Like, what am I here for?" Right. And I was questioning that. And then I spent some time thinking about it, and then I was thinking, okay, so the direction that my heart is being pulled, right? Which is basically the only thing I can think that actually matters to me in the long run. And I have verbalized this, but I'm trying to marry that into my three-dimensional pain body interpretation, maybe. Let's just say that. That the only thing I can pinpoint that pulls at me that I have verbalized before is that humanity feeling the essence of them, of us, right? That's the only thing that seems to matter to me, right? How do we as humanity awaken to our own individualized truth, right? Which is what you and I spent time doing, drinking cacao. We
Yeah.
just basically try to find our own path into that world. And I'm not saying our path is one and only, and I'm not saying our path is by any means right versus wrong. This is quite literally what this podcast is, what everything that we do is an interpretation of what it means to be human and be lost and then spend years, decades trying to find your own self. And so to me, like, I can't say that within is not a purpose. Like, and I know that's weird because that's not really, there's not even a recipe for it. We're quite literally stumbling through our life, trying to make through, just unraveling the bullshit that is me alone. And then there's the bullshit that's you alone. And then we're trying to coexist together during it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if there's a recipe for it, then it's not a purpose. I think an actual purpose will be unrecipeable. I'm sorry, I tried to be wordsmithy and it didn't work.
Wordsmithing.
I think if it can be boiled down to ABC, then that's not a purpose.
Yeah.
So the fact that what you just described is something that is, it's not that it's vague, it's not that it's undefined. Nebulous. It's like almost like a goal.
Yeah, but right, I don't even see it as a goal. The one of the videos, one of the channel videos that I recorded that will be publishing in a few weeks, so maybe along the side with this podcast, actually talked about that the purpose or the goal of our being is not to be awakened, right? Not to actualize awakening, and then therefore that is the purpose. But the purpose is the process, the journey from not to,
Yeah.
right? What we are as humanity experiencing right now, or all the incarnated souls that we are on this time and space, what our journey is, what we came here for, is not to be lost and is not to be found, but to go on the journey from being lost to being found. And the journey is the path or is the purpose, maybe, right? That is the higher guidance that I received.
Yeah. No, I'm right with you on that. The journey itself is the destination, right? The destination isn't the destination. What's the
Yeah.
destination? You your human body dies in the end. There's your destination.
Well,
Or what? I've achieved this. What could you even say it is? I've
well,
become enlightened. It's the whole process is the goal.
yeah, but
If there's a goal.
when I say process, what I felt like it wasn't just like a brushstroke. It was like, okay, well, you're just here to experience this process. The process is extremely nuanced and extremely detailed, and it carries so much information within itself that 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 is our purpose. Like, I know I'm kind of speaking from the higher self at this point, and not necessarily from my interpretation of it. So I'll go back to that, but from the higher self, the purpose is the nuance of the details. So when you're feeling down, when you're feeling high, when you're feeling lost, when you're feeling found, when you feel your heart open and you're running into the world with excitement, or when you're closed in and you're trying to figure out what is this, the new energy that you're trying to interpret that you don't even know what it is, right? Like all of those little nuances is our life's journey, the purpose of our life, right? At the end of my book, there's a chapter that is called, I don't know what the chapter is called. But it's basically talks about what is the purpose of life. And it's basically being. The answer is just being. And I thought, my gosh, there's people who spend lifetimes searching for purpose of life
When they're actually living it.
when they're actually living it. And then here's my book, and I have one chapter dedicated to it. And it's just like, guess what? The whole point of you is just being you. And I thought, that is just too simple. Like, right? Like, I remember as a child, my dad reading Brahavad Gita. I will mispronounce it, right? The Hindu sacred text when he converted to Hinduism. And I was thinking, here's a man in his 30s, I think, who's on search for meaning. He's on search for purpose in life. And his purpose lays somewhere in these sacred texts. And what does Krishna say, right? And what does the sages say? And, all the, I don't know, I cannot name any other Hindu gods at this point that matter, I guess, to this conversation. But right, what is that? And that is, I mean, this is going to sound preposterous, but all the text and all the gurus and all the workshops and all the chases of self that we go through to actualize us into us are kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Because the only purpose is just being us.
Right. It's like you have to go on this long journey. Unfortunately, it feels like most people, myself included, have to go on this long roundabout journey just to end up back where you start with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, but at the same time, I know there's nothing I could say to 20-year-old Elliot that would fast forward me to shortcut that. It's almost necessary to realize everything that it's not. It's like, it's not so much finding out what it is, it's realizing everything else that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Same thing with love, right? Like
right?
that's we say
Yeah.
something about love.
There's,
Love is just is.
yeah.
And then there's everything that it isn't. And the goal in that is to find everything that it isn't.
And that's not to say that these sacred texts or these, self-help books or whatever aren't helpful. They can be, in as much
they
as
help you
as
uncover
they help
everything
you.
that
Yes,
is not.
they can be directionally helpful. They can go, oh well, it's not this, it's not that, and that can help. It can.
No, I think a lot of them are just basically showing you how to unlayer.
Yeah.
Like my book, the only thing is my book does, it's a frequency transmission of showing you how to unlayer.
Yeah.
You don't even have to comprehend the words. The words are really simple. I think they're written like for a 3-year-old or 5-year-old reading level, right? Written by master Englishness.
Wordsmith.
Wordsmith here.
Warmish.
Wormsy. Right. And so the book is just a frequency transmission to unlayer everything that you're not. And it has very fluid flow once you get used to it. But at the end, it's just like, guess what? There's nothing there other than you being you. And the life.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. And the life is spent you trying to figure out all the things that you have come to understand as you, to unravel those, to see that they have actually nothing to do with you.
Right. It sounds like your passions, which may align with, well, before I go there. So then is everybody's purpose just to be?
That's what my book says. No, but here's what I wanted to bring me into it, and this is where my funk went. And I know this is a pain body, but this is where my mind took it, right? When I was depressed, and I'm like, oh, why am I depressed? Like, right? I'm like, why am I in a funk? Why am I depressed? And I was thinking about it. And I'm like, well, I know what my pull is. My pull is just to do more of what fills my heart with joy, what like excites me. And the most important thing that excites me is people finding out themselves, right? Because to me, for me to find out myself is the most exciting thing. Or right. And when we sit and we have some sort of breakthrough between us, that is the most exciting thing for me, right? And then I thought, okay, well, and so what am I doing towards it? I thought, okay, well, if that is where I'm being pulled, because everybody's like, oh, find what your passion is and just do more of that, right?
Yeah.
And so by that definition, then I thought, okay, well, guess what we're doing? We're sitting, we're drinking cacao, and we're talking about us, and that's our podcast. I feel love come through me when I do music, just like you do, right? When I do sound bowls, I literally feel the essence of divine coming into me. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do more of that. When I record my meditation, it's same thing. So I'm like, okay, so my YouTube channel is the essence of presentation of everything that I feel passionate about into this world, right? But then my human portion started to put a metric on it. And the metric was, well, am I doing good at it? Right? And the depression did not come out of not feeling my purpose, questioning whether or not I'm doing right by it.
Are you good enough for
my purpose
to hold that flame?
Sure. Right? Is the essence of me? Am I, is right? As passionate as I feel about, and as much as I'm already doing, the question is that enough?
Is it enough? Right.
And that's what, and I'm like, that is such
good
a three-dimensional
enough volume,
human.
Enough of this, enough of that, all of the above.
Yeah, like, is it making a difference, right? And then I'm like, and then you basically told me, right? The question I think that you asked me was, what does it mean to make a difference, right? Like what is it? What is that scale?
Sure.
Like what is the scale that applies to you being good enough?
If one person saw a video and felt better in that day, you have made a difference. I have watched your videos and I have felt better. So it is a established fact that you have made a difference.
Yeah.
Period.
But the questioning of the purpose.
But is it take 10, 100, a million people? If a million people did it, would you make a difference?
Yeah. Well, no, but that's the thing.
If everyone on Earth saw it, have you succeeded yet?
Yeah, I think the funk is taking the pain body of questioning whether or not you're good enough. Like whether or not you're doing your purpose good enough.
Yeah. And the fact that it's on YouTube and you have access to all these statistics and analytics makes it super easy to convince yourself that you're not. Because
It,
you're like, oh, the view time, oh, the watch through rate, oh my gosh, this and that.
yeah, but
In in a, in a way that
at those things, am I just using that information to actually bring up what I actually feel inside? Right?
yeah, I think so.
That's what it is. Like that we will paint whatever story, we will use whatever evidence in the world we have to paint or to justify feeling whatever we're already feeling so it can come up to the surface more. And what was coming up to the surface more is like, I cannot feel that there's anything more important in this life other than allowing an individual to find themselves.
Right. So we've identified your passion. I feel this passion as well. And
Through how?
in that this it feels of utmost importance to me.
Guess I'm
I mean,
dragging you
that
into it, or just
I
because you're
no, I
going
feel
through
it
that journey?
independently. I mean, I don't know if I would have gotten there on my own, but I feel it too. Um, and yeah, I get to do videos and stuff, and that is I get to I have a creative outlet for that, and you have a creative outlet for that. They're just similar but slightly different, and that's great. That's passion. I got two things. A, how does that connect to purpose? Are those the same thing? I guess I would say no. Is your passion your purpose? No, not necessarily.
Really?
It can be.
Like
It
how
might be, but it is not. I don't think it's necessarily your purpose.
like are you trying to have a purpose narrow down into a definition?
Right. I mean, and I don't think you need to. I mean, I am very, very comfortable with my purpose being super blobby and nebulous.
Is the passion then not a path for purpose?
And that's how I look at it. The passion is kind of to me, a compass for purpose. Like if I'm doing things aligned with my passion and aligned with what it's like, it's not just a passion. I have a passion for bungee jumping. That wouldn't be my purpose, right? I don't have a passion for bungee jumping, but it would be hard to, I don't know. I say that and it's like, well, if you have a passion for, let's say you have a passion for bungee jumping and you think it is the best thing in the world, it's completely underrated. Everybody should try it. And you get out and you're just trying to spread the message and, and recruit people. Well, try it. If you don't like it, you never have to do it again. Why don't you try, maybe that could be your purpose. So maybe your passion could be your purpose. I don't know that it necessarily is. What I have just described and what you have just described sounds an awful lot like a very passionate preacher, minister up there trying to inform the masses about something. I don't have the best.
What do you mean? Where are you
Um,
going with this? I'm confused now.
it when you were describing a couple minutes ago how much passion you feel about spreading the word, the good word. I couldn't
Are you
help.
are you
I couldn't
implying that I
help.
should be a preacher?
No, I couldn't help. I'm implied that you are a
Yeah.
preacher. No. I couldn't help but draw an analogy.
You are speaking, realizing my take on organized religion, right?
I share your take on organized religion, but the it's hard for me to do this because I don't have a high opinion of organized religion, or
I don't see
or
what we
that.
do as religion.
But that I don't either. But the passion that you brought to it, I connected to. I'm some very passionate preacher up there talking about let's say the love of Jesus or something,
Yeah. I can spend hours talking about love of Jesus.
right? And so they seem in the same neighborhood. That type of I'm not saying that the messages are or even are or not the same or anything like that. I'm not saying anything about the message. I'm just saying that you having a message that you believe helps people and you having a passion to share that message reminds me of a preacher having a message that he believes helps people and wanting to share that message.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it just like you're bringing it up tangentially just because that just came to your mind?
Yeah, it came to my mind and I didn't
Yeah.
want to interrupt you to say it.
Oh no, I mean, I have not thought that this sounds like a crazy person, with a billboard on the side of the road yelling. I don't know what they yell usually, like
Go inside. No, yes, it'll be yours. The end is nigh.
Is that what they say?
Something like that.
I mean, we literally recorded an episode on the end. Not the end, but I think it's getting ready to publish. It were already published like two ago or so about what the future holds.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like, I think I even titled it like Brave New World because it was supposed to be.
Wait, did that just go out this morning?
Today's Tuesday.
Something went out this morning.
I don't know if the Brave New World went out this morning or not.
It doesn't matter, but I have it right here. Yes, it went out this morning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. But that episode is the information that I have on what the future will be. I will clarify it here. I wanted to clarify it. I don't know. I think I've said this in the episode, but I said this to Aiden and then someone that he knows. That 2024 will be a hard year because a lot of our pain and trauma will come to the surface for us to process. And I think that what that episode was, the Brave New World, is basically talking about that. It's talking about things will be coming to the surface. But then I heard them say like, "Oh, this is going to be a terrible year." But I want you to clarify. It is not a terrible year. It is a year of opportunity of what we'll make of it.
Right.
So in case that didn't come through, I don't remember if it came through or not in the podcast, is what I was trying to actually say is we have an enormous opportunity to discover self in this year, in 2024, like never before. And if we take it with light and we take it with an open heart and actually the embracing of ourselves as, here I am preaching, but right, it does not have to be terrible.
You need a Bible to thump.
Is this what preachers do? They thump Bibles?
They're called Bible thumpers.
Oh, I did not know that. Why do they thump Bibles? It's the word of God. Why are they hitting it?
For emphasis.
Smacking the word of God on
I don't know if they literally thump the Bible down or if they pound the Bible.
Both of those sounds wrong.
I would agree.
Did your preacher do that?
No.
Okay. No, so that was a clarification on the Brave New World. Because I think somebody misunderstood it as like a doomsday prophecy. And
yeah, no, I didn't take it as a doomsday prophecy.
Okay.
But I guess I know what you were saying.
Yeah. No, right. What we're going through right now, me uncovering this layer of self that takes going, am I good enough? Right. If what I'm doing, what I'm feeling inside of me, is it coming through? Is it coming through enough? And right. And now I have a gauge on enough, right? Enough. But that does just go back to me not being enough or not feeling like I'm enough, right? And I know you would say that that's your flavor of Kool-Aid, like not being enough, but my flavor of Kool-Aid is just not belonging, right? With the whole table leg situation of if anyone's confused about the table legs, there's an episode somewhere talks about my origin. I think it's the origin stories.
Is that 1 or 2?
Maybe 3 or 4. Yeah. And so from that standpoint, not being like everyone else and then not fitting in because of it. Right. And I think through other episodes in the podcast, we kind of explore that there's this, right. In one way, it is great not to be like anyone else because there's no one else you can compare yourself to. Like by default, I've never fit in. And then therefore you're like, that's in a way, it's painful, but in the other way, it's amazing because it's like
Yeah.
there's no one out there that I can follow that has paved any road that I could follow.
Yeah. No, I mean, I am 100% with you on how it is both painful and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think that's what the funk is. At times when I don't have enough energy to go on, right, and I am in a questioning state of being, and I go, "Well, am I doing enough?" There's not like a recipe to follow. And I have never had that, right? I never had a place to look at to go, "Oh, guess what? Here seems to be a path. Let's at least get an anchor into it to pacify what you're feeling." I have never had that. So anytime I am kind of like in that free fall, um, it's kind of like comes down to me figuring it out, which has always kind of been my thing. It's like I'm on my own and I'm always figuring it out. I say on my own. I'm never on my own. I have, we all have a slew of guides around us. But what it does is it forces me to go within. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have nowhere to go but within. And then the question that I ask is, why in the fuck do I feel the way I feel right now? And because it's not all that great. The answer always comes from the inside.
Yeah. I mean, the answer has to come from the inside.
Yeah, but for most people,
It comes from the outside.
it's the outside.
They try to find things on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is true. Most people, and I have historically done this, is something to blame, something that's not going the way you want.
Or to blame
something, someone, the stock market, the whatever, the weather.
There's two aspects. If you're feeling unsure and uneasy and you don't know where to go, option one is to externalize it into, let's say it's the Jews, right? Well, no, I mean, I'm a Jew, so like half of the time shit was blamed on the Jews but you know what I mean? You can externalize it to that. I know maybe I shouldn't have taken a political turn here.
You were straight there. You could have just said, "Oh, it's Sally."
Well, no, it seems like the world
We're
is.
gonna dive in both feet.
Well, we were just talking about how the world. We saw something with Holocaust.
I had a Holocaust dream last night.
Yeah, and you had a Holocaust dream, and then we were talking about how United States in the early 1900s hated Italians and they hated the Irish, and so the country had this huge anti-Irish and anti-Italian movement that could be wrong, but I think for the most part dissipated.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up, I heard, I don't know if it was from movies or from stories or what, but they were talking about how they didn't like the Irish,
yeah,
or the Italians, and I'm like, that doesn't. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
as a child of the '80s, I'm like, I understand why, okay, I understand the racism between these people who don't look alike, but I couldn't visually tell a difference between an Italian and an Irishman and, any other, quote, white American.
because you're.
I'm not saying
because you're Irish.
It turns out I'm some Irish, and some German and some French. I'm from all, Western Europe.
Yeah.
And 0.1% Congolese. No, wait, 0.9% Congolese.
Yeah, but not Native American.
I'm 0% Native American, despite being told that I'm Native American growing up. I'm not saying that just because people look different, that is a valid reason for this. It is not. I want to make that clear.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're darker than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess you're closer to Spanish or Italian with a olive colored skin. All beside the point. So I didn't get that. I did not understand why. I can understand why there's racism with visual differences, with black and white, stuff like that. Not okay, but I can wrap my head around that. I couldn't wrap my head around the Italians or the Irish.
Yeah, no, but we externalized that out.
We just externalized that out, and I think it's because back in the day they came over in large numbers and took our jobs or whatever. And and now it's like, oh, we don't have jobs because the Italians came over or whatever.
No, I think
And today it's Mexicans. Oh, they're coming over and they're taking.
No, it's still the Jews too. That's
and it's still the Jews
my
too.
point is, like, I grew up and in Soviet Union. This is off topic, but in Soviet Union, even though we were Ukrainian, my mom was Ukrainian, my dad was Jewish. And I might have said this on a previous podcast, but like on his passport, his nationality was actually written as Jewish, not Ukrainian. Even though he was a Ukrainian citizen, born in Ukraine, has always lived in Ukraine, so it's the nationality that went on your passport. Like in America, we have like country of birth and then nationality. And my nationality right now says United States of America because I'm a United States citizen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Ukraine, it literally would have said Ukrainian or Jewish.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with nationality of your country.
Yeah.
Here, nationality.
Here, nationality is like, what passport do you hold? Or what are you a citizen of?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're completely off topic. Growing up, I did not realize that the Jewish people was an ethnic group. I thought
it was a nationality.
Yeah, it was a nationality.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Jews are the same as the Christians or the Muslims in as much as they are the people who believe this religion or that religion.
Yeah.
And that is a definition of a Jew.
Yeah.
In as much as I could convert to Judaism and I could, quote, become a practicing Jew, but I would never be an ethnic Jew.
Yeah. Yeah. And people in the United States, most of the people do not understand that.
Right. And in fact, there's two groups of them. There's the Ashkenazi and the...
I don't know what the other one is. But Ashkenazi is like 80% of Jewish.
Yeah.
There's two different nationality of Jewish within the sect.
Yeah.
And then guess what? There's prejudice in between.
Of course. In each
right?
group.
It's like, oh, guess what? You're not Jewish the right way. And we're Jewish. It's like, It doesn't even make sense. No. Yeah. So that is like a nuance. And when I say Jewish, like to most people in the United States, you're like, oh, well, what's the big deal? Yeah. And I came here as a refugee and we heard someone say like, oh, why did your mom refugee? Like, why is the Jewish status refugee? And the truth is Jewish people back in the 90s, were still very discriminated against 80s and 90s, which, when I was growing up. Now, of course, Zelensky is Jewish. And so right now, no one can possibly understand how a country that discriminates against Jews can have a Jewish president. Right. But to that extent, I'm not trying to draw political culture here, is Barack Obama was an excellent president who was African American. And yet we still have racism against African American in this country. So having a Jewish or an African American president does not instill that there is no racism against that type, right? Yeah. Now, maybe there's less because there's enough people voting for them to actually accept them into the world and then thus allow them to be representatives of the country. But it does not mean that portion of our innate lostness has been wiped out.
Yeah.
So anyway, the reason I said that is because, did you want to add something else before?
I was going to say that it didn't make sense to me why Hitler was trying to kill the Jews when they, I thought it was for what they believed. And only later did I realize, oh, this is an ethnic genocide. It is a race of people that he's trying to eliminate.
Yeah.
Well, and you're just born that way, and that is your ancestry and your DNA. Okay, now you're on the list.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you realized that when you met me. Because I was like, I'm Jewish, but not like religious Jewish. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. No, and so, whenever you...
Even today, people will fight you if you say that. They're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, it is. Yeah, 23andMe has a whole category for it.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with what you do or don't believe. It's just right.
Yeah, I don't think people in the United States are aware of that. Like, unless you're Jewish, people don't know what that means.
But I think that's the, when in the history and the Bible, the Egyptians enslaved the Hebrew people. I think that's the same people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the same people.
Okay, it's this group of people called the Egyptians, ethnic Egyptians, who have enslaved this group of people called the I guess the Hebrews then, and now they're called the Jewish people. I think that's the same people.
It's the same people, but it's ethnicity, right?
Right. It is an
Ethnicity, not
ethnicity.
religion. Like, no, in that case, they did probably practice some rudimentary form of Judaism, back then. And back then, it was also probably more mystical Judaism than it is, the Judaism that exists today.
Right. So this is in, I guess, second book of Old Testament's Exodus. So that's when they left. So they were enslaved before that.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I'm assuming Torah doesn't exist back then. I don't know.
Sure.
So I don't know what religious wise was practiced.
I think what was practiced
that
was
day.
actually more of similar to the understanding of God that we have right now, that they have right now, that all of us have right now, but more in the mystical sense of it, right? Because from we watched the thing with Moses, the Exodus movie.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, and of course, here I am basing religious teachings on blockbuster movie, right? But the idea is they believe that the God held power within its being, and then thus proclaim the path of the righteous into peace, right, and harmony and fruition, and then thus the oppressors would be punished. That is kind of Old Testament-y, I guess.
Yeah. We've talked about that before. How Old Testament God is like literally a different entity God than New Testament God.
Yeah, we should do just episode on like interpretation of religion, maybe. Yeah. But anyway, so did you want to add anything about this before I go back?
No, let's go back to purpose.
Okay, yeah. So purpose, the reason why I came in is I'm trying to go back to the thought. When we are lost inside and we don't know where we're going, right? And we don't know what our purpose in life is. And then we are possibly confused and angry or just confused, and then thus it leads to anger, however you want to interpret the emotional turmoil that comes out of not knowing who we are. We can externalize that into one direction, hating of the Jews, of the Italians, of the Irish, or whatever you want to do, right? And in that case, you channel the internal turmoil of not knowing who you are into an outlet of anger. Like, oh, I'm angry, but I'm angry at myself, or I'm feeling lost inside, but I can't process that energy. And so I'll rewrite it and externalize it into anger, right? Into that feeling of hopelessness. And I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to get angry about it. And then I'm going to pick a topic, and the topic is Jews, Italians, and Irish. Let's just say that's the topic. Or there's the other feeling of I'm lost and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to go searching, right? So you are living more on the open heart. You're not shutting your heart off completely. You're staying a little bit more open. And you go, I'm going to go find a guru. I'm going to go find a teaching. I'm going to go find a path in life that will lead me to self, or to answer what is it that I'm feeling inside that I'm not able to process.
So instead of the problems out there, you've moved to the solutions out there.
Yeah, right. But in both cases, unfortunately, I mean, obviously the latter one is bad, or it's better to go, okay, I feel like shit, let me go look for a solution, as opposed to I feel like shit, let me try an external outlet.
Yeah.
So
there's the problem.
Yeah. So that's not the greatest one. So maybe see the human nature that will lead you into that. Externalizing what you feel into an override into a different emotion, and then trying to solve a different problem by masking the problem that you actually have. Right. So like one of those glaring, like, oh, red flags. But the other problem is you're internalizing a little bit to where you go, oh, I feel like shit, right? Or I feel floppy or funky, or I don't know, whatever.
Floppy.
Sure. That was the word that came. And so like I'm depressed and I don't know why, and I don't actually know what is it that I am or what I'm doing. So you are asking the right questions, but you don't have the answers. And so then you externalize the answer. Now, the question is, what is it that most people will do that, is that wrong to externalize and search and have hope and go out there and search for it? I would say no.
Right. Because out there,
I mean, heck, you and I are out there,
right?
right? If somebody's listening, you and I are
Yeah.
that.
No, and we read stuff and
Yeah.
watch stuff, and it's, I guess, I know that the answer isn't out there, but I also know that like there's stuff out there that can help
Process.
help filter, help provide a new lens to look at things, a new way of looking at things that you haven't thought, things like that. So I know in the end that it's all inside of me, for me, and it's all inside of you for you. I know that. That is,
Yeah.
there's no, that's just like a fact. But at the same time, I find it fascinating to watch other people's stories about how they, came about it, because I'm like, because some of it is like, what? I can't at all relate to that. That makes no sense to me. And some of it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly like me. And it's just fascinating to me to
Yeah.
watch these stories of people, famous or not, that have gone on this path.
Yeah, no, and the path is the same. That's the thing. It's like the reason why you go out there and you search for hope is because you recognize the humanity in all of us, right? And if somebody's going through something and they have experience and they have, their own story to tell, and you can relate to it in some way. I mean, heck, this just came up to my mind. I know this is kind of like off tangent, but it's a cute interpretation. Meghan Markle, do you remember we were watching Meghan Markle and what's the dude's name?
Prince Harry?
Sure. A documentary on their marriage.
Netflix?
Whatever. It was on their marriage. Like it was like a 4-part story on their marriage. And she was going through something and then she felt lost. And she watched The Little Mermaid. And she saw herself. She saw guidance.
I don't remember that part of it.
Yeah. She saw, because where do you find guidance? You find guidance anywhere. And in her case, she saw her story in The Little Mermaid.
Right. Which follows the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell style hero's journey.
Yeah, and that's
like
her path.
every story does.
Yeah. And everybody has a different nuance. And The Little Mermaid was her story.
But that's also the story of almost everybody's life. Is this, you leave, you have to, I don't know exactly this. There it is. You have to go on this path of discovery in order to basically,
come back to self.
Come back.
Yeah.
Come back with more wisdom than you had before.
Yeah.
And then you repeat, and then you repeat, and then you repeat.
Yeah. But think about that is you're lost, you're trying to find yourself, and you go out into the world. Let's say you're not the one who's angry and is completely confused. You already know that you need to go within, or you need to find a path forth. And that path is guidance, like other people's experiences, other people's stories. But then you spend, years and years of your life trying to unravel everything that is not you, or trying to unravel all the stipulations and all the contracts that you have pre-written that caused you to be what you are right now. And you're almost trying to like undo them and, tear them apart. And, but you have ingrained that within your being.
Yeah.
And now you have to like disengage. And that disengaging is confusing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how do you disengage from you?
Right. How could it be any other way? That's how it feels.
No, it feels like you would be entering into a territory that is not you. Because that's quite literally what you're doing. You're abandoning everything you have ever known that has been your definition of you. And now you're trying to write a different definition of you. And then, and this is the interesting part to me is that nuance between, I have to have both hands for this, between if you unravel everything from the past, and this is the sentence I was giving in my dream, then by default, you have to unravel everything into the future because the future was always defined by your past.
Right.
And so as you unravel your past, your future gets unraveled. What's going on, Gitch? Is there birdies? There are?
It was on the windowsill.
Oh. Well, I don't think you can get it from the inside. Right, yes, you unravel your past by default held your definitions of the future.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Because without any intervention, your path just becomes your past just becomes your future.
Yeah. But as you unravel the past, your future becomes dissolved as well. And so
Unwritten. More unwritten.
More unwritten, yeah. And I mean, maybe I'll bring this up here. This was like 2 or 3 days ago. I wrote this down in my crazy book. But I had a dream and I couldn't remember the dream. And a lot of times in my dream state, I have a dual interpretation of being. Like I have the dream state that is that's just like, a story, like a storyline. But then I have the other state where I'm actually having conversations with whoever's guiding me. Like I'm assuming it's my spiritual guide or my higher self or whoever it is, right? Did it almost fall? And I don't remember the dream, but I remember going, what does that mean? And I remember asking that. And so this was, my guide who answered, or whoever was guiding me in this particular moment, basically very eloquently, which I will not say this eloquently, but I will say it as a story, that if you are on a road trip and you are driving down the interstate or up the interstate, and then you pass through a town that you had no intention of stopping in, and you stop there and you get out of the car and you get lost in the city. And then that was it. That was what he said in a very amazingly awesome way. And I sat there going, my first instinct, right, as a small self, hearing this, going, wait, do I want to be lost? And then there's this very rudimentary pain body response of like, no, feeling lost is a bad thing. Feeling lost is a bad thing. Because my entire life has spent time mitigating that feeling of being lost, right? Like if things were unknown, my entire upbringing was so unknown and had held so many unknown factors that I have spent my entire life mitigating that feeling, trying to offset it with something. And in his case, he's like, well, that's what life is. This is what the life forward is this scenario. And so I wanted maybe to analyze what that actually means. And this goes back to, if you're on the road, everything behind you is your past, right? You're coming from a home. Your home is your past.
Sure.
All your beliefs, all your structures, all your friends, all your family, everything that you have done for a living, everything you have done for work, everything you have done.
Everything you believe.
Everything the whole truth is in the past. On the road, right? From the point A to point B is everything that you have ever been. Like quite literally, the most comfort that you have ever felt is the point A, where you're coming from. And the journey, for all intents and purposes, you think is to point B, which is your future. And your future is derivative of your past. You're taking everything you have ever known and everything you were in this home base, and you're just going, oh yeah, I will take all of that and I'll just travel down the road forward down the interstate.
With a big U-Haul behind you.
Yeah, and a U-Haul is me. I'm bringing all of me with me into the point B.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, that is what the road trip is. And it feels safe because it's me just simply getting into my car with my shit. It's your car, it's your shit, and it's the essence of you, right? Kind of like the scratch surface essence of you, because, you're just on the road trip. And then you go into point B, still having all the shit. But when you stop in the middle without a plan and you park your car and you walk away from your car, and then you get lost in the city that you're never meant to go into and start over without the road trip, without the car, without the past, without the future, you're now in a completely new territory.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
Right. It's scary.
And my 3-dimensional self, when I heard that, went, oh, wow. Do I want that? The question is, do I want that? But at the same time, I'm like, but wait, that is the journey.
Not only is that journey, but that sounds exciting to me. It sounds scary. Yes. Not having the safety of the history and the past and the stuff and the whatever. It sounds scary. But at the same time, that sounds really exciting. Where is there more potential for awesomeness than that?
No,
Point B.
I agree.
Point B is going to be more of the same. Point B is going to be your yearly summer trip to Florida. It's nice. It's warm. You do some swimming or whatever. It's nothing new. It's the same. It's the same life, just down here instead of up there. But getting lost on some road trip is like, oh wow, wait, there's ancient burial mounds here. I didn't know about that. Oh, what?
Well, no, in his case, his point is you're lost. You're lost, and you're starting over because you don't have a past and you don't have a future.
You basically moved there,
but without the past and without the future.
Yeah.
Like lost, his idea behind the word lost was you have quite literally erased your past.
Witness relocation.
Sure. But like, there's like those crazy shows where somebody's memory get erased and then like don't even know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't even know what I believe in. I don't even know if I like broccoli. I don't even know if I like mashed potatoes, right? Like I'm discovering me for the first time. That is me.
Mm-hmm.
His point was that is where we're going.
Yeah.
It's not as simple of like, oh no, I'm just gonna like still keep me and now explore the ancient ruins. No, you have erased you. You is erased. There's no you. And thus the future that you have contemplated or even possibly projected forth is also erased because the you is erased. There is no you. And that's just what I felt, right? I'm saying this, I'm telling you what he meant because I felt what he meant. And so, right, his word was one sentence, but the feeling behind it was a lifetime worth of information. And so when he said that to me, I thought, wow, that is scary to me. How would that feel like? But at the same time, I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to offer me comfort because that is what I was already feeling inside. He wanted me to understand what I'm feeling inside.
You feel like you're already in a new city.
I feel like I have already lost me. Right? And so the me is already gone. I never had plans into the future. But at the same time, you do wonder, even if someone does not have plans into the future, do they at least feel some comfort that the future will somehow reflect the past? Right? That is never not a given.
Right. Yeah.
You almost, like some people have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. I never believed in those, but I have never thought that my future would somehow not be like my past, not be within the comfort structure of my past. But now the path that I'm on, the past is gone, and thus the future is gone because those two no longer coincide with me. And now basically I am in this other point on the road that I never planned on being, and the city that I never planned on stopping at, abandoning my car and walking into the city that is dense. The density is different, right? I felt the density of the city. So the density quite literally is different. It is compact into something else. It is an interpretation of something else. And I don't have a past or the future. I don't know if the vastness of that concept is coming through, but that is the reality of where we're going. So go ahead and say what I was going to say, but my other topic that I want to address from that is, how do you even derive a purpose out of that? Because the past is gone and the future is gone.
That's what does that make it easier to see a purpose? Not having the past, or does that make it harder?
I think when we said that the purpose is the journey of life, the purpose is the journey, I think this just kind of solidifies that. It solidifies that, guess what? You're on the road, but sooner or later, that fucker's gone and that fucker's gone. You're nowhere. And so where's the purpose? The purpose is the overarching interpretation that is you and your life. And so, yeah, like, I thought, oh my gosh, the definition of free fall is literally that. That is, right, quite literally to me is free fall. Because, if you are the type of person that likes control and likes the comfort and almost held on to the past because let's say it was never great, but it still offered comfort because it was known.
Yeah.
And then thus you carry the past with you because it was always known. And then thus the future always would reflect the past because you're carrying the known. You're carrying the bag of shit behind you.
Yeah.
Like, who is it that drag the in M's video, he's dragging the chair, but it's a mythological story on who's the god.
Sisyphus?
What was he dragging?
He was pushing a boulder up a cliff.
Sure, but it represented his bag of crap, right?
It was a punishment from the gods.
Oh, well, I don't know. There's a video.
He would push it up all day and then, or maybe all night, I don't know. And then it would inevitably fall back down and he would have to do it for all eternity. Yeah,
but in this case, I'm referring, maybe this is the same, maybe this is not. I don't know. This is probably another rabbit hole that you're going to dive down into. But, but right, there's the idea that you're lugging this heavy burden behind you. And you're comfortable, right? And then, and in this case, the burden was the chair. It was a huge, ginormous chair that was a comfort chair, like the recliner comfort chairs.
Yeah.
That the person was dragging behind them.
Looks like a nice chair.
Yeah, it was a nice chair.
Link the video.
But it's a song. It's a Russian song. But, and so this is what that is the chair is a burden. And you're on the journey and you're carrying this damn burden with you. But it's a comfortable chair.
Yeah.
And at any point, you can plop it down, you can sit down, and you can go, I'm okay. Everything's okay because I have this comfortable chair.
But it's a hefty chair. It's not like a folding chair you could easily carry with you. It's like maybe even heavier than this.
So it's the burden, but at the same time, the nuance there is a comfort. It's a known comfort.
Yeah. No, it's a very good metaphor.
It's an amazing metaphor. So I'm thinking it's either he came up with this or I'm assuming there's a mythological tale behind it that he just interpreted into this video. But the right, and at the end when he climbs this hill with this chair, he just lets it go. He just goes, okay, I'm letting this go. I see it for what it is, as opposed to the nature of the comfort that it offered me 10% of the time when I was tired and I could relax and sit in it, as opposed to 90% of the time that I had to drag it behind my back uphill.
And that applies to stuff, that applies to people, that applies to thoughts, that applies to jobs, that applies
to our path. It's our entire
everything.
life.
Yeah.
Our entire life, right?
Tangible and intangible things that that we've lugged along that, we even think define us.
Yeah. And so anyway, the purpose, right? The purpose is nebulous because it is ever changing. Right. And right now,
the purpose is maybe letting go of all that.
Just finding you, but the finding you is letting go of that. Right?
Yeah.
So can you say that I have a purpose? Is that a purpose to finding you? Is that a purpose? Maybe, but tangentially in the sense that it's really just undoing everything that is not you. And so maybe part of my discombobulation of self lays in the idea that if the past is gone and thus the future is gone, you are in a new territory of self. And then you question,
What do I do here?
well, you question who you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I know there have been times in my life that have just destroyed my identity, and then it's like I don't even know who I am,
yeah.
and
And it's okay not to know who you are.
it's okay not to know. That's the thing too. Is it's okay. It's like, but it doesn't feel like it's okay. It feels like, the floor has been ripped out from under you, and you're in free fall, and you just don't. The most basic thing, who am I, is gone. You don't even know, and it's
No,
terrifying.
it's terrifying, especially like for me, for a person who used to be a control freak. I'm sure I still control shit, for comfort. But being in the free fall quite literally was
Yeah.
life threatening for me.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know how things will turn out in Soviet Ukraine, and you're not planning like into the future all the time, action all the time, you're not going to survive. And so that sense of survival was built into control, into planning, into orchestration of fake control to make sure that you felt safe. And I have specialized in that all my life.
Right.
And then I question, I'm like, well, specialize in that, but I'm really good at letting go of something. So it's like it's very specific
That's the thing.
things.
It's so, I always find it amazing how like, and it's like sometimes it's the things that I thought were bigger are the easier ones to let go, and it's like, why is this small thing just sticking around?
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Life's weird. Are we wrapping up?
Sure.
Do you have anything to add?
I don't know. I think we got it. I don't know. At points I had stuff to add, and they're all gone now. I don't remember.
I don't even know if we got it. Maybe the whole tale is like
The the journey is the destination,
yeah.
which
I don't think it does it
may or may
justice.
not help with higher purpose. But that's kind of it, though, is that the purpose is to be here and to be on the purpose is to be on the journey. And at the same time, if there is something you're passionate about that, especially if it can help others, although I don't think that's necessary, that's if there is an expression of yourself that you can bring forth, whether it's making something or building something or doing something or helping someone or whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is. Make a drawing and then burn it. It doesn't matter. Your purpose doesn't have to be anything big or small. It just has to resonate with you.
Yeah. I thought about it like everything that I do. I'm like, why do I like doing it? Right. And there's this big part of me that thought, oh, I think it's beautiful. It just, to me, it represents beauty. And I know to say like, oh, a podcast is beautiful, or, uh, a sound healing is beautiful. Like that's weird to say, but that is how I feel.
Yeah.
Like and this, I don't say this from the selfish or like self-centered standpoint, but me struggling in public here on this podcast with the purpose of me, knowing that I spend my whole life trying to figure out, all the ways that I jeopardize myself, is beautiful, right? There's this innate beauty in humanity. Be it something disastrous or be it actually something that most people will classify beauty by the standards of beauty. It's all beautiful. And so, what is beautiful? Or that's a whole other maybe podcast. The purpose sometimes just has beauty in it.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Or beauty is in the eye of the beer holder.
I guess beer could be beautiful to some people.
No, the joke is that if you get so drunk, then everyone's beautiful.
Oh, I didn't get it. Sorry.
It's not a good joke.
No, right. To see beauty in something that is difficult is hard. It's
It is
hard to find beauty.
It is hard.
in the difficulties of life.
Right. And it's like there's like level 1, which is like looking at the silver lining around it, which is like, oh yeah, I crashed my car, but I don't know. But at least I don't know. I don't have a good silver lining example. Some sort of like small positive that came out of the negative, right?
Yeah, or
I
the
yeah, I got fired, but at least I got a severance package. Like, yeah, I guess that's good, but that's not really the seeing the beauty in it. The beauty in it is, oh, now I get to go do. I have the opportunity to do something that is more aligned with me. Might be the real beauty in it,
Mhm.
and it's not always obvious.
Yeah, no, to begin with, especially when you're in the depth of it,
Yeah,
it's
you're
hard
like,
to
oh my
find the
god, how am I
beauty.
going to pay the bills? Oh yeah, freak out.
Yeah, no, the beauty is hard to find sometimes. And that's where I thought, okay, well, I can really easily sell myself on the larger scope of things. And I'm like, but what if I dive into how I actually feel? Or not, maybe not knowing how I actually feel, like that free fall, the feeling of that free fall, walking into the city and just being lost. And the truth is you never leave the city. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, the city expands and becomes its own world. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what that expansion looks like?
yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that that's while you're in the city, it's dense. The density is there, but then it like expands and becomes its own entity.
Mm.
Almost like with the world outside non-existent. Everything is non-existent and you're somewhere else.
I mean, in a sense, in a very real sense, being born on this planet is here's your city. Get lost in this.
Mhm. Maybe. I mean, from the physical standpoint?
I mean, yeah, in that, if we believe that, we here we are, life after life after life in the ether, and we're like, oh, I'm gonna go be born again, and you come down to Earth. This lifetime is being lost in the city.
Yeah. Yeah. I think his point was that the city represented density.
I mean, that would carry in this example too.
Yeah, and so the change of the road trip of letting go of the past and thus dissolving the future and then being somewhere else in the different density was a message within itself.
Yeah,
That aren't so our interpretation of reality will actually be different because the density is different.
it,
And thus our being will now expand out of this different density. And what I want to point out is not necessarily in a different lifetime, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I almost see it as nested, as that happens. A for your life here, and then B can happen inside your life here,
Mhm.
and C could happen inside of that too. It could be that while you're in the city, you get lost in a different neighborhood inside that city.
Into an upgraded frequency after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
No, I think
metaphors are getting stretched here, but
yeah, no, but I think you wanted to show me the generalized trajectory of where we are right now. I don't know if you feel that way or not. Like I know that's where I am right now.
yeah,
I'm not there all the way, but
I see it.
well, no, I'm like entering into that realm, right? And so the first question is to me, is that free fall, right? Like so the first thing you would be addressing there is like, it's the panic mode. If you were going to go in panic mode, this would be over what you would go into panic mode with. It's right. Like that's and the right. And I was thinking, how beautiful is that I get this amazing guidance and this amazing storytelling. And and that's what keeps me sane. Quite literally. A wrap.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening.